Welcome to Talk Time with Trish. I am Patricia McClure, Chessier, your host for the show. And today I am here with a very, very special guest, Dr. Delphine Rankin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. So, I've actually been trying to get you to the show for a while.
Yes.
And I know that you are a very busy lady.
There's a lot going on.
Yes, it is. And so we're going to be talking about that, but I know that you are a very busy lady. And just for those of you all who don't know, I'm sure like everybody is always wondering, how does she know this person? How does she know that person? So actually, Dr. Delphine Rankin, we went to college together. I keep saying high school, please forgive me, but we went to college together. Actually, I went to high school with her husband and college with her husband, and went to college with you.
Correct.
And also too, both of us are a part of the Divine Eye.
Absolutely.
So you want to just tell the viewers what sorority you belong to?
Yes, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I wanted you to come here because, again, I know that you are a very busy lady. I know that you have recently been promoted to the Chief Executive Officer position. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome. And we're going to be talking about the organization that you're over. Mm-hmm. But before we get into that, why don't you tell the viewers a little bit more about Delphine?
About me. So first I would like to say that I am a servant of many walks of life, and we could talk a little bit about that later.
Sure.
I am a wife of, I think we were just talking, almost 27 years.
That's awesome.
A mom of 2 adult boys, and recently, within the last 5 years, I have 2 grandbabies, and they're both boys. So
nice.
I'm from a large family. I have 6 sisters. I'm the youngest.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't know that. Really? Wow.
I'm the youngest of 7. And I have a host of nieces, nephews, cousins, family friends, community residents. So I'm from a large village, I guess you would say.
Wow.
I grew up in Chicago, so I'm a product of the South Side. I went to Chicago Public School, both elementary and high school, and had an opportunity to branch off into college. And so I'm just excited, that I have a village that has helped me to see what the possibilities of life is. I mean, even at, in my 50s, there's still so much possibility.
Yes.
And, this village has helped me.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Now let me ask you, Delphine, were your family, were they from Chicago? Did your family come from, did your mom and dad, are they from the South or?
Yeah, I can't track the entire history, but they are from the South, both my mom as well as my dad. They're both deceased at this point. But they both came, to the city of Chicago. My family grew up, down in the project area. I was born there. I think I moved probably when I was about maybe a year old to the South Side. Okay. Over in the Pullman area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The Pullman,
yeah, it's a very nice area, especially back then. Yeah. Very nice.
Very nice. A host of, individuals that I'm still in contact with, either, seeing on a regular basis or by Facebook, all that social media, we're able to keep in contact. But my parents brought that life, some of that life and culture style with them. And I think I still have a part of that with me, some of that Southern hospitality, some of that, need that village in order to continue to grow and sometimes to feel comfortable.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I want to ask you, especially with you saying that you have 6 sisters, so there were no boys. What was that like?
You know what? Honestly, so all of my sisters they're stair-steppers.
Wow.
The sister right above me, she's 9 years older than I am. Okay. So although I grew up in the house with her, she was a lot older than I was. Mm-hmm. So by the time I got to my, at 11 and 12 years, she was just about ready to leave the house, and she got married, and so I didn't grow up with them, as they have many stories that they can tell. And I think sometimes if we're sitting at dinner, all the parties that we've had and family outings we've had, they talk about all their stories. I don't have those stories with them, but I do have stories with my niece and my cousin. So my niece Lori and Brenda, we grew up as sisters because we're all right in the same age group. We were all born in the same year, and so they're like my sisters growing up.
Got it.
So I didn't have the experience of growing up with all of my sisters. They're like moms to me, to be honest. Well, they were like moms, but now they're like the big sisters that they are. So yeah, they have lots of stories that they can share. I had weekdays to myself and weekends with my cousin and my niece.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can really relate to that, because in the house, I have other siblings, but inside our home, it was 4 siblings. And so my brother and I are 5 years apart. And then with him being a boy,
right.
And so then I had a sister that was 7 years older than me inside the home, and 8 years older than me. And so I often tell people that I really felt like an only child.
Yes.
Growing up, because it was such a big age difference. So I can really relate to that.
Same. I think I was telling some friends of mine before that my husband, although my mom showed me a lot of things, I wasn't ready to learn, because I think I was the only child, spoiled probably. And everybody did everything for me for a long time. My husband showed me how to wash clothes when we went when we went away to school. I'm pretty sure my mom told me, showed me. I just wasn't ready. But my husband taught me how to wash clothes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
now, did you grow up in church?
I did.
Okay.
I did. My mom was definitely a woman of faith and knew the importance of being close to God and trying to keep her family centered around that. And so I did. I went to church every week. I think, sometimes we would go to Friday night services with my aunt and my cousin that I was telling you about. I'm not a singer, so I was in a choir. I think we called it the Sunshine Band.
Oh yeah, that's cute. That's cute.
I think we called it the Sunshine Band. So I did sing in the choir, but I was kind of one of those background singers. I never got a solo like my cousin Brenda, but but yeah. So my mother thought it was important. So my mom's sister, my mom's from a large family as well.
Okay,
lots of sisters and brothers. She had, but my mom's sister lived here in Chicago as well. So they would take care of each other's children, and so if I wasn't at church with my mom, then I was with my aunt, and on Friday nights, so they make sure that we stayed in church. It was, and I'm so glad, so glad that was instilled at a young age.
Yes.
So it made it natural and easy to go back to, because you kind of go back to, you're looking for your roots, right?
Right. And I'm really glad to hear you say that, because oftentimes I talk a lot about that on this show, is that I think that it's very, very important for people to raise their children in the church, because that's what really gives you a foundation. It helps you to establish good morals, good values. And for me, I was just talking about this with my girls the other day. The instructions that I needed were in that Bible.
Absolutely.
And so, and oftentimes we hear people say kids don't come with instructions. I understand they don't come with instructions literally, but between that Bible and seeking the Lord, you're going to have what you need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that is a very good foundation for kids. And a lot of times, like with me, I can just tell my youngest 2 girls, well, what the Bible say, about that, And so that's something that you kind of need to go and talk to the Lord about yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's great. I'm really glad to hear that.
Yes.
Who were your role models growing up?
I have had a lot of role models.
Okay.
But I would say I didn't really realize the value of my mom being a role model until I was much older. you say you don't really know your mom. Your mom is your mom. So it gives you direction, gives you guidance, tells you yes, tells you no. And sometimes it's not when you want to hear it.
Right.
And so as a young person, of course, I didn't understand that. But as I got older, I really started to see the value of my mom.
Yes.
And what she taught me, what she said to me verbally, what she didn't say, how she, she was a model, right? A model for, my life. I would not be the person that I am today, without her guidance and just watching her. My mom was a woman of very few words. She was most often, soft-spoken, mild-mannered, nothing like me. I'm nothing like her in that way. But when she spoke, and even the unspoken word, was very powerful, and it was always on point. It was always on point. And so I would say, out of the many individuals that, have been a role model, I would say my mom is that person. I mean, she showed me, what it was like to be a mother, right? A wife, and to be those individuals in times where it wasn't easy. Right. You're a wife, you're a mother,
and absolutely.
Sometimes society will say, if it's not working out, you tried, you leave. Right. My mother, she and my dad went through many things, probably many for me and what I know. She's probably much more that she didn't share. And through all of that, and her faith in God, her understanding of the Word of God, and what she needed to do in order to keep that family together.
Yes.
That was modeled. She role modeled that.
Yes.
And that's helped me, through my marriage and raising my family. And to be honest, with just, being a friend to individuals, being a colleague, in the position that I'm in today. So my mom, was that role model. And I've had others that, professionally, since I've been working, I've had many. And one I want to shout out, Dr. Jackie Sharp.
Okay.
Sometimes people don't know you're their role model or their mentor. But they do them. They act and they do the right thing, and sometimes when they do the wrong thing, this individual is a person that can tell you, I may not know everything, but here's some words for you. I mean, and to this day, I can call Dr. Sharp.
That's wonderful.
And talk with her. So those are two that stand out for me. There's some others along the way, and I'm sure there'll be more. As long as you have breath of life. Yes. I guess I should speak for myself. As long as I have breath of life, I am searching and looking, to grow as an individual, to continue to be a servant, of the Most High God, and just do right. Right. Just do right.
So that's very interesting what you said in regards to your mom being a role model. Because, and like you said, we just look at our moms as our moms, and you don't really think about it. And then it's like, as you get older, you start to reflect, and you think about all of the different things that you've learned from your mom. You looked at how your mom moved, how your mom carried themselves, and so on and so forth. But also what I wanted to say with that, Delphine, is that you were so blessed, right? You was just so fortunate to have a mom who you apparently looked up to, and the fact that you was able to see your mom as a role model, because unfortunately we know that that's not always the case. That's really a blessing. That's really a blessing.
And I'm most thankful for it, even though she's, not here. Her spirit, is still, carries on. I still remember all those things that she taught me, those things she said or didn't say, and so. you're right. I didn't think about any of it. Like I didn't think about the value added. You know,
right.
You know, took it for granted.
Yes,
be honest,
yes.
took it for granted.
Me too. And you know, something else too that this is something that I want to share. One time, my daughter said to me, you know, you talk about your mom so much, and we really hate that we never had the opportunity to meet her because when my mom passed, my youngest daughter was 2, and the other one wasn't even born yet. And then I thought about it. The way I move and the way I do things is so much like my mom, and so I started to say to them, well, you didn't meet my mother in the physical sense, but there's so much of my mom in me, and how I move and how I act and how I carry myself is a lot like my mom. And it kind of sounds like that's how you are. So that's great.
And as you were saying that, I was thinking about there are some times where I can look in the mirror and I can say, oh, I look like Leela, right?
I was going to ask you her name.
Leela.
Okay.
And then there's other times when I'm moving about life, and sometimes the comments or the conversation, and I said, "Oh, you sound like Prince." That was my dad.
Oh wow, Leela and Prince.
Leela and Prince.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, I have both of them, right? I have both of them, and I can see that, you know, now that I'm older, and you know, I saw already spoke that she was kind of that mild mannered woman, and when she said something, you need to listen. And my dad was the person. He was always talking, and you know, he was that person that knew how to get around. He knew how to navigate.
Okay.
You know, negotiate, navigate, some unique skills. And I think I learned that, and I was able to transfer those into my everyday life.
Wow.
So a blessing to have them both, right?
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you are in social services.
Yes.
So how did you go about choosing that field? I mean, was it intentional? Was it unintentional?
I would say very unintentional, but it was unintentional in the way in that when I first took my first position in social services, one of my sorority sisters, she said, Delphine, why don't you come try this? Because I was graduating and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to, and at the time I didn't know the words. I knew I wanted to serve. I knew I wanted to help people. But I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to do that. And she said, just come here, come interview. And I did. I came and I interviewed for a position as a caseworker in foster care. And it was really my first professional job. And as challenging as it was, and some of the stories that I heard and, you know, things that I dealt with, I felt like it was the right place for me. So I didn't go to school thinking about this is what I'm going to do. But it's, you know, again, through kind of the village, working with the village, helping you grow and learn and make way for you. You know, that was an opportunity for me, and actually one that I've kind of never looked back from.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, I also know that you have your doctorates. Is that in education?
So I have a doctorate of organizational leadership. And so
awesome.
I'm. It's funny how it came about that. I remember my oldest son when we were having a conversation about school, and I said, you know what? I think I want to go back and get a doctorate degree. He said, you should do it, Mom.
Oh, wow.
And he said, well, when I graduate high school, you graduate with your doctorate. I said, okay, it's a bet, right?
Oh, wow.
So I got in this program, and I wasn't quite sure exactly what I wanted to do with it. And then I realized along the way that I can continue to work in nonprofit, human services, social services, and I can take that, I can expand my academic, skill level and use it in my field as a leader to help organizations and business prosper.
Yes.
And so, because of my son that I actually went and finished it. It took me a couple of more years than I anticipated, but he graduated high school and I graduated with my doctorate.
Oh, that's a wonderful story. So it was kind of like almost like you all made a pact.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So with you being a CEO, like I know, well, let me back up because I want to say also to you, with you being a non-for-profit, I mean, that's really hard work. You know, it is. It's very rewarding.
It is.
Very rewarding. And it's, but it's hard work. So I want to tell you thank you, you know, just because of the impact, you know, that you're making. And so we're going to be talking more about your organization, but I just, you know, and we kind of talked offline too when I saw you a couple of weeks ago at the event. But yeah, that's very rewarding. Very rewarding. So I wanted to talk to you about your trajectory in terms of how did you end up becoming a CEO, because we know that that's not a process that happened overnight.
No.
We know that you've had to apply yourself. I'm sure you've had to be mentored and all of the above. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'm sure there's probably someone listening that's saying, you know, I would love to be a CEO of a non-for-profit organization one day.
Let me help you. Well, there needs to be more females in leadership roles, and particularly in the C-suite. So absolutely.
And women of color.
And women of color, too. Absolutely. And you're right. So it didn't happen overnight at all. So when I think about, you know, my pathway and getting to where I am now, it was planned, right? It was something that I thought about, that I wanted to do. I knew that it was important to be in the space that I'm in terms of nonprofit. It allowed me to be authentically who I am, you know, a servant. And being in the nonprofit human service space, it felt comfortable, right? Not too comfortable that I would ignore and just kind of look over things, but it felt like I could be me in this space. But planning, you know, being in different leadership roles, starting out in direct service, and by all means, everybody doesn't have to start out the way that I did. But for me, it was getting firsthand knowledge, experience about the world that I wanted to work in. It was having mentors like Dr. Jackie Sharp early on, you know, to share, you know, her insight and how things go, and just bounce things off of individuals, because you need that, right? Being in various leadership roles, and I honestly stepped out of the direct role the industry that I was in, still human services, but I did something a little bit different because I wanted to explore various parts of human service and nonprofit, because it is broad. There's so many things you want to do. Right. And then, as we've been talking about, mentorship and an extended village is important to that growth. So having those individuals who's done the work, who's been in roles, to be there with you, to direct you, to guide you, to be there to answer questions. Yes. And then professional development. Yes. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to take risks. You have to go to trainings. You know, and so that was my pathway. It may have taken me a little longer than some other individuals, but that worked for me, right? I'm not sure if back then, the young Delphine saw herself as a CEO. I saw myself as a person who wanted to be at the table to make decisions. Okay. I didn't necessarily see myself as the CEO. But eventually, through my path, that was a natural position for me. You know what? I love that, because what I hear you saying is how you took your time, you allowed yourself to grow professionally. Yes. You invested in yourself, you know, because learning is an investment. That's correct. You allowed yourself to be mentored. You knew that it was something that you could learn from other people. And you was open. That's because correct. We know with being mentored, because I've had to be mentored, I've been mentored as well, it has to be what do they say, an amicable relationship. Absolutely. You have to be open, and you have to be willing to hear the feedback. That's correct. Some feedback is good, some feedback may not be so good. That's right. But you said something, Delphine, and that is,
you didn't have your eyes set on becoming a CEO.
No.
But in terms of how you prepared yourself organically, that's how it happened. And I think that's great, because sometimes people can get too focused on the position.
Yes.
And they don't put the work in.
Yes.
Preparing,
That's
the preparation that it takes to be in that position.
That's correct.
Oh, I love that. So I'm really enjoying this conversation, especially as you was talking about your pathway in terms of how you became a CEO.
Yeah.
So now I want to know, and the viewers want to know, you are the CEO of...
I am the CEO of SOS Children's Villages, Illinois. So it's a new role for me as of November of 2022.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So this organization is really near and dear to my heart. I mean, one, I've talked about the space of nonprofit is where I feel comfortable, where I feel like I've made an impact, not just with, the people that I work with, clients, but also with the staff, right? And that's where I feel like most of my impact has been in the last maybe 8 years or so, being in a leadership role. But
that's great.
SOS is again, it's a nonprofit. We're part of an international organization. Over 137, there are other 137 countries, and here in Illinois, I have the privilege of working with young people who are youth in care, or people known as foster care. But also working with the biological parents, right? Which not many people talk about the biological parents.
Right.
And
when they do, is normally they talk about the negative stuff.
Correct.
So that's good. Go ahead.
Correct. So is just working with the families and the staff, and I think before coming into the CEO role, I think the probably the most enjoyable, although can be challenging at times, is working with individuals who first step foot into nonprofit, and in particular into the world, of foster care. And, coming in with all of the preconceived notions of what foster care is, what it isn't, and not finding the strength from working with families in order to help reunify, to help strengthen.
Yes.
To get them back to a point where, and sometimes it might not even be back to a point. It might be get them to a good point.
Yes.
Where they feel supported and they can work within their family unit. So it's I would say that's been really kind of the pleasure, is kind of working with people as they come in, because it's hard work, right? It's hard on the heart sometimes as well. It pulls on those heartstrings, and so when you can nurture individuals, regardless of age or gender, and help them to understand the importance of the work, right? The impact that you can make when you put all of those things aside that you heard, and you work with those individuals for who they are and where they are. It's powerful.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So.
Yes. I really like what you said, especially about the reunification piece, because I believe that is huge. So I was actually a caseworker it was a private agency for DCFS.
Okay.
And so, I know sometimes people can kind of get in the routine. Let's remove the child. And then before you know it, let's terminate the rights, and, so on and so forth. But I think it's important that it's very important that you look at the reunification piece, because there's nothing like having if you can be raised by your biological family.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Now, if that's not possible, sometimes it's not possible, but
Correct.
if it is, it's good to see organizations like yours that's gonna try to do all that you all can to help reunite that child with their family.
That's so. Aside from, and I don't want to say aside, our first responsibility is the safety of that child, safety and well-being of the child, and that's getting them out of what has been deemed as a situation where they're not safe and they shouldn't be there.
Yes.
Right. So then we're able to open our doors to help these young people. And the unique thing about SOS, I have to say a little bit, right?
Yes.
Our program is unique in that the children that come to us, they are part of a sibling group. So our goal is really about keeping brothers and sisters together, because when most children come into care, they're separated from right? So they're removed from their house of origin, their original origin. Most of the times it's their biological parents. And then if they're part of a sibling group, they're removed from their siblings. And so that's trauma on top of trauma. And so our program, we're able to offer a safe setting by keeping brothers and sisters together.
That's awesome.
And, having these, we have many good people that work with us. The one group of people that work with us are our foster parents. They're professional foster parents. These individuals have decided that they are going to sacrifice.
Wow.
Right? They're going to leave their own home, and sometimes their family, the adult families, and they're going to come move on to one of our villages.
Wow.
And stay in one of our homes and foster up to 6 children. Can you imagine fostering up to 6 children?
Wow.
So the work of these individuals have been part of the success to keep brothers and sisters together.
That is wonderful.
Yes.
That is wonderful. So now I have a better idea. So the homes are actually a part of you all's organization.
Yes.
And the foster care parents are coming to stay with the children at the home.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yes. So we have 3 locations.
Okay.
Joliet area, South Suburban Chicago.
Okay.
And then 2 city locations where there are single family homes that the organization takes care of all the upkeep and responsibility. We hire the professional foster parent.
Wow.
So they're a member of the team. They're an employee of the organization.
Oh, that's great.
And their function, which is a huge job, is to parent up to 6 children until they're able to be reunified with their mom or dad, or some other permanency goal.
Wow. So I'm glad you explained that, because I see all of the posts on social media about these various foster parents and all that they're doing. But what I didn't realize, that's how it was set up. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So it's the villages. So we've set up in the South Suburban area. I say it's a rural-like village. And in the 2 city areas, it's urban-like, but it's still village. But if you think about it, you may have a village when you were growing up, or here, where in your own home, people that are on your block that they're part of your village.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So these, whether it's a residential block or it's a cul-de-sac, or on a area of property where it's just the SOS children and the foster parents, it's a village of individuals that have come there for the same goal: keep children safe until they can return home, of the same mindset, or different skill level.
Okay.
Right?
Wow. Now, is there ever a time where the kids can live in a home with each other and not be siblings, or is it always siblings?
For the most part, children are living with their sibling, but there are some homes in which foster parents are caring for maybe 3 children of different sibling groups, right?
Oh, okay.
So, but it's up to 6 children, and they should only have 3 families within that home.
Okay. Okay. Now, Delphine, you said something to me when we was having a conversation. So with me working in behavioral health care, and as I see different kids come in, they can be a youth in care, they can be, they can just be in foster care temporarily or whatever. And I guess it's kind of like a misconception out there when when children are not with their parents, you automatically assume it's abuse. And as we were talking, you kind of enlightened me on something, and you said that a lot of times it's not abuse, it's neglect.
Correct.
So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So just as you said, kids come into care for either abuse or neglect. And by and large, there are a number of children that come in for abuse, but there's another group of kids that come in neglect. And that neglect may be, due to poverty, right? A parent may have been on substance abuse, on some substance and was abusing it. They could have been incarcerated, many things that can disrupt a family's life. And, I think I just wanted to share with you that not all of the children have been physically abused, and, as we begin to work with individuals, whether it's the casework staff, therapists, parents need to understand how they got involved in this system. But if they are trying to move beyond how they got involved, whether it's misuse of substances, something they did criminally and they were incarcerated, or now, like you said, behavioral health.
Yes.
There are a lot of people that have mental health issues and have been afraid to talk about. I don't know about in your family.
Yes.
But in my family,
yes.
mental health was something that we didn't talk about.
Right.
But it's certainly running rampant, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And so some of those individuals and some of our biological parents maybe needed to have seek treatment, didn't know they could, didn't know they should, couldn't afford it, access, whatever it might be. But beyond that, once they come to that realization, they deserve an opportunity to resolve those issues, to work to get their kids back. And that's after after the kids are safe. Primary goal is to get those kids back when possible with their biological parents.
Yes. And something else too, that you said, and I hope our viewers are listening, when you talk about neglect, a lot of times too, like you said, it kind of goes back to a lack of resources. And so I think that that's where people can't always be judgmental.
Yes.
Because we haven't walked in these in these people's shoes.
Correct.
And so I would also probably guess, I would more so say or presume that you have generations.
Correct.
So, and then it's kind of like you have one generation, and if you have those children that are born in poverty, and then you turn around, and then those children end up having children, and then it's like the cycle kind of continue on.
Correct.
But my point is, I do think that people should be less judgmental. And I think that it's great, that you all have an organization like this that are willing to help those individuals, because the bottom line is also too, when you talk about a person's economy, a lot of that goes back to, were you given the opportunity to be able to go to school and advance in your career in order for you to get a decent job, in order for you to be able to care for your children. I've seen some tough situations, even just working at the hospital. So I can only imagine, the type of situations that you all have encountered.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think about some of the experiences that I've heard from some of the parents, some of the kids' trauma, I have not experienced some of this. And if my job, the staff job, is to be there to support and to lend help and support and access to the services.
Yes.
So that they can be reunified. Don't get me wrong, there are some cases and some situations where it's not in the best interest, right? But as professionals, it is our job to identify what those issues are, to assess it, and then to make recommendations to do something different. But by and large, 3 and 5 children return home to their biological parents. I think what's disheartening for me is to know that these children, these families are separated.
Yes.
Right? And in some cases, they're separated because of, lack of housing. Or, I think that maybe the two for me at this point is mental health and housing. I have families that could be reunified if they had housing, right?
Wow.
They've done everything that, the courts have asked, the service plan, the services have been outlined, but they don't have a place to live. And so do we keep kids in the system because mom and dad don't have a place? No.
Right.
What we need to do is to start being a little bit more creative and say, well, where is mom and dad living? Are they living with family friends? Is there space, for mom and dad and family friends? Is this family going to be supportive of them living together? Because, we don't want to keep kids in the system and there's, the safety issue there's no safety issue.
Right. Right.
So we have to start being creative and stop thinking that everybody needs a big white house and a picket fence.
Exactly.
In order for them to be returned home. It's just, that's not the case.
Right.
Right. A lot of our parents they didn't have the same opportunity to get into maybe college.
Right.
Or maybe a job where they are able to support their large family.
Right.
They came upon hard times. Some other things maybe came along. But if they've resolved those issues, who are we?
Yes.
Who are we to say your lifestyle doesn't look like mine? You didn't follow the same path as I did, right? And so once those issues are resolved, those kids should go back home to mom and dad. Right. And then the work really begins, right? Because they've been separated and in most cases, they've been separated probably over 2.5 years.
Wow.
Right? And so they have to begin to do the work of rebuilding that family. And as an organization, our job is to help them with some supports. So when they do leave us, they know where to go. And when something's going wrong, I can't remember where I was. It might have been one of the women's conference. Somebody just said, just raise your hand. Like, I need help. Right? But you got to feel comfortable, right?
Right.
And if I'm always if I'm always the villain because of what I've done, I'm not going to be likely to raise my hand and say I need help because I've been in this system before, right?
Right.
So, staff have to do the best job at helping the biological parent to develop a relationship one that's built on trust, that when something does go wrong, that they know that they have somebody. Maybe not them, but somebody in that village.
Yes.
Right? Because we all have our villages.
Right. And we all need one.
Yes.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, you are truly doing an amazing work. So let me just ask you this question. In terms of if you have parents that, because sometimes you can have parents that possibly have like substance abuse issues. They may not, they're not abusive or anything like that, but they may probably from time to time may not make the best decisions because of their substance abuse. Does your agency connect them with services for that too?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So that's part of our mandate, if that is the issue that stands in the way of that biological parent being their best person, then yes, that's a referral we're going to make. That's not something we do in-house, but there are so many organizations out there, that do good work in that area, and we're going to make that referral. They're not going to have to pay for that service. It's, if we say that that's something they need in order to have, that will be paid for by the state. Right? So they don't have to worry about that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, let me ask you this. Now, this is just more of a general question. So I know of different people who had an interest in being a foster parent in a traditional sense, meaning taking a child into their home. What are what would you say to a person that they're like, well, I really would like to be a foster parent, but I don't know if I have it in me, or if the kid will like me, or that kind of thing. What advice would you give to kind of help someone kind of get past all of that?
So beyond the basic eligibility, 25 or older, have some experience, working with young people. We're both parents, so we've experienced the infant all the way to adults, so we kind of know what to expect. I would say have an idea of what that looks like by talking with individuals who have parented, if they have not already parented. And I think the biggest thing would be, there's an opportunity, with SOS, if they're not interested in being a foster parent and they just want to just kind of see if this for them, they can come work part-time for us, and we call them relief parents. They work part-time, they work alongside of our foster parents. They step in when the foster parent is out of the home for some reason or another, and so they get to see and watch. That's an opportunity to do that. I mean, you can go on our website, which is SOS Children's Villages Illinois. .org, and watch videos, but I think the best way is to just come and work for us as a part-time relief parent.
Okay.
And you'll have an opportunity to kind of to see everything in action, right? But really, if anybody who wants to come and work in this area has to come with a servant attitude, right?
Yes.
It's not about the child liking them. That's not what it's about. You want to be kind. You want to be nice and respectful. At times as a parent, you have to be stern. You have to have structure. You have to be consistent.
Yes.
Those are things that will make a great parent.
Yes.
A great foster parent. But also know that it's just like as a parent. Remember, it didn't come with a manual.
Right.
So you have to refer back to your values and your morals. So I would say, make sure your values and morals line up with who we are, or whoever that organization that you want to work for. And then maybe this is a good place for me to see if I'm interested in being a foster parent. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to ask you this, because I know that you have ran across a lot of cases, since you've been with your organization. Can you think, and maybe not even there, but can you think of a particular case that you would just say was just heart-wrenching, or, it's a case that, it was like a moment in your career where you was like, Delphine, this is why you do what you do. It was kind of almost like a reaffirmation as to why you are in this field.
Easy. Okay. When kids go back home to their mom and dad, or when they find a forever home, then I know I am where I need to be. Wow. Right? It makes it easy to come to work knowing that we are doing exactly what we are supposed to do. We're not an orphanage. We're just a temporary stopping point to provide safety for those children while their parents are strengthening and resolving issues until they can get back together as a family. And then when that is not an option, there are some other families out there that want to do this. And so that's it. That's what I would tell you. That's when I can say I'm in the right spot. Okay,
that's wonderful. Now, do you all teach parenting skills? Do you all offer that too?
Yes, we offer parenting skills financial literacy. We have a beautiful learning kitchen at one of our sites that was funded in part by Goya Foods. So they're able to come in this state-of-the-art kitchen.
Wow.
Our families learn nutritional classes there, and we're also in a partnership with a new organization that will be working on a job training program for individuals, adults 18 and older, that are interested in learning the field of culinary, learning how to cook.
Wow.
They'll lead their 6-week program with some foundational skills and opportunities for job placement. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. One of the things too that I want to say, because I actually had an opportunity to be a part of it through the invitation that you had extended to me, is I like the training or the education and the different workshops that you all offer the youth. And so I can say what was it that I was a part of? It was during COVID, but it was a virtual event where we were able to tell our story. And the participants, it was with
for the women's,
yes. And I thought that was really good, because those kids were able to see people that look like them, and they were able to hear our stories and recognize that we wasn't born with a gold spoon in our mouth, a silver spoon in our mouth. And if that lady was raised in Inglewood and she made it, then I can make it too.
Yeah.
And it's those real life stories that I believe that help our youth.
Absolutely.
And so I was just so grateful for the invitation that you extended to me to be a part of that. But most importantly, I want to also say thank you, because I think that that's a wonderful opportunity that you all are giving to the youth, for them to be able to experience that.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because that's not an area that we started with, right? That came about really in 2020, after all of the unrest, the riots, and us looking back to see all of the injustices that were going on, and we started thinking about, we have injustices in the system that we're working in, meaning child welfare, foster care. And most of the biological parents that we work with, they're females. And so as we begin to help them navigate through getting their kids back, they also need to have some possibilities of work and professional development. So so all of this kind of came out of that. We have this a social justice committee, and we decided we want to be able to showcase women, and we just happened to do it in March for Women's History Month. But it's an opportunity for our young people, for our biological parents, to see and to hear stories and journeys of people that look like them. And quite frankly, I said I didn't see myself as a CEO. I didn't think about it, because I didn't see anybody that looked like me.
Wow.
And so having you and other women at the table, being a part of that panel and sharing your story, and you've done so many things. You've overcome adversities. You've written books, and been an administrator, CEO of a hospital. And you say you came from Inglewood. Just imagine all of the young people that was listening to you tell your story and say, if she did it, I can do it as well. So that's a part of what our nonprofit can do. It's not just about that, because I believe in planting seeds.
Yes.
Right? We plant those seeds, we water them while we can, and who knows, they might not even sprout while they're with us. But something will happen later on. They get a little bit more fertilizer when they leave us. And something happens, right? And that's what we're supposed to do. There's no perfect person, right? But we should give them opportunities, enrichments,
Yes.
experiences that they might not have once they leave here.
That's true. That's true. And you know, as you were sitting there talking to Delphine, I was thinking about with us, you know, I remember in college, from time to time, they would probably bring in like different speakers, you know, for us to go and hear, or even just being in a sorority, you know, you're exposed to certain things.
Yes.
But everybody may not have the opportunity.
Correct.
You know, so to be able to give people the opportunity, and that's what I like, that's what I call the extra.
Yes.
That the non-for-profit is able to provide,
Yes.
which is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you all funded? Like, do you all take donations, or you want to talk anything about that? Or
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So
Let the people know.
yeah, absolutely. So we're funded, you know, state funded.
Okay.
However, we are aggressive fundraisers, and
Okay.
if you go onto our website, you know, SOS Children's Villages Illinois.org, you will find a link where you could donate. You can volunteer, you know, to come and be a part of our organization in some way or another. But we're nonprofit, so. Fundraising is a huge part of what we do, and it allows us to do those things that governmental funds won't allow us to do. I mean, some of the trips, the activities, you know, for kids, and so yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you've heard it here. I want to thank you so much for being my special guest on today. And you've heard it here. If you're looking for an organization that you can donate to, and that you are able to help individuals, like she said, do the extra. You know, children deserve to be able to go on field trips and, you know, all of the extra things that kids like to do that's outside of the state funding. Here's your opportunity. And I want to encourage you to please make sure you visit the website. The website again is what, Delphine?
It's www.sosillinois.org.
Great. So I want to thank you for being my guest on today. Yes.
This is so much fun.
Yes. And I look forward to future conversations with you. Thank you for listening. God bless.
Joining Talk Time with Trish with host Patricia M. McClure, Chessier, an award-winning author of Losing a Hero to Alzheimer's.